We got a long one here today. That's what she said to me as well. And this title is quite crazy. I mean, you probably read the title of the video, but check this out. My boyfriend violated a woman in my house on my birthday. This woman has kids from a previous relationship. So with this man that has done this thing, there are also kids in the home. I thought I'd just let you know, okay? So we are discussing some serious stuff today. So just so you know, because we're getting into it. I have been with my boyfriend for 7 months. We've had a really lovely relationship up until now, and honestly, I thought that I had found the relationship of my dreams. I have been feeling quite burned out lately due to a variety of factors, and he's been incredibly supportive. And when my birthday came around, he went all out, planning a variety of surprises and rallying my friends and family to make the day special. Sounds great, okay? And also, a relationship is not really worth going into if you think it's not going to be the dream relationship. So the setup is good, you know? But that's the unfortunate thing. You can be with someone for a long time and still not really know them, right? That's quite scary. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Not get into relationships? That's not the way. However, by the end of the night, he became incredibly drunk and guilt-tripped me into letting his friend and a woman stay over at our house. His reasoning being his friend has been so helpful in preparing the birthday surprise. The next day I was contacted by the woman and she shared with me that while I was asleep, my boyfriend had walked in on them having sex on my couch and inserted himself into the situation without being invited. When the woman came to her senses and realized what was happening, she broke down and my boyfriend ran off. The woman was left feeling violated and traumatized. Few things are wrong here, apart from of course the obvious, because why would you insert yourself into a situation like this, right? Like, even if like there is some context that made him think that somehow they were inviting him. I don't know how. He was incredibly drunk, so who knows how he came to that reasoning. Just don't do that, right? That's a good rule of thumb, to just not do that, and then that doesn't happen. But on the other hand, why are you having sex on a stranger's couch? Or maybe not stranger, but still, like, if one of my friends came over with his woman, and they started having sex on any of my furniture, I wouldn't be so pleased. One good thing about this, though, is that the woman, the victim in this case, was very quick to let people know, which is incredibly important to do, right? If something like this happens to you, the longer you let it wait, the less of a help people can the less people can help you, is what I'm trying to say. He initially claimed to not remember anything, but later started getting flashes from what happened. Since then, he's been drowning in guilt, crying, talking about his childhood trauma, promising therapy, saying he'll quit drinking. But he's also been pressuring me for certainty around our relationship, asking whether I plan to break up with him, and asking for long-term clarity around timelines when I ask for space to process things. I get why he's saying that. But the talking about childhood trauma and promising therapy and promising to quitting drinking is classic manipulation. It's like one of the most recognizable parts of manipulation. It's like, yes, I did this bad thing, but I promise I'll do good stuff now, and I promise I won't drink anymore, and then so it won't happen again, right? So you won't be so mad at me because I'm actively working against it, you know. It's a fake form of taking responsibility. Unless, you know, it's a little bit tough to say, because if they actually do those things, like stopping drinking and going to therapy, but it doesn't make it right. It's fake accountability. You can put those together. First, you say you messed up, and you genuinely apologize, and you sit with that guilt. And then, on a separate time, right, not together, you separate these things. You can go and talk about wanting to go to therapy, quitting drinking, and actually doing it before you start talking about it, because you can get the gratification and the forgiveness from talking about it, but you're not actually doing it yet. You first make an appointment with a therapist, and then you say, all right, I realize that what I did is messed up, so I need some therapy, because clearly I need help. You can't be like, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to therapy, okay? I'm quitting drinking, but I'm so sorry. So now you'll be more inclined to forgive me, right? And not have any harsh consequences, because I'm not actually doing it because I wanted to better myself. I'm doing it because I don't want you to be mad at me. And both can be true at the same time, that he does actually want to improve himself, but the fact that he's talking about childhood trauma and stuff, yes, Many people have childhood trauma, and there's no denying the severity and seriousness that it deserves to be treated with. But that doesn't give you any right or any excuse to do these sorts of things. I have this sinking feeling that either he's unable to fully internalize the gravity of the damage he's done, or he might just not consider it as serious as it is. He says things like, I would never intentionally hurt you, and seems to think that his main failure was to get too drunk, placing a lot of the blame on the alcohol. This kind of reinforces my point with the manipulation, right? He tries to not have accountability in himself, right? It's these other things, and he's immediately focused on fixing these other things, like going to therapy because his childhood trauma is to blame, and like stopping drinking because alcohol is to blame. And it's not just he who did that out of his own will, right? And he just messed up. It takes a lot to admit that, especially when it's serious like this, but that's the only way to really start, first of all, making up to people, but then also improving yourself to never do something like that again. I hope it's kind of clear what I'm saying, because I can understand, I know what points I'm trying to make, but I can understand if it kind of sounds weird or it doesn't sound quite clear. So I hope I'm making myself clear that I'm not saying it's bad that he wants to go to therapy and quit drinking. Those are good things. Those are things you should consider. But the way that he's doing it and using it to his advantage is what I don't like. That's what I'm saying. I already know I'm going to break up with him. Rationally, it's clear. Even though, to be honest, I'm really fighting against my urge to just drown myself in empathy for him and support him through this. Codependence, man. What a concept, but I don't feel strong enough to do it yet. I'm co-parenting 2 kids from a previous relationship, and I'm currently in mom week taking care of them. I was already close to burnout, and right now I just don't have the mental energy to hold his reaction on top of everything else. So we're just taking some space. I get that totally. I understand that completely, but it doesn't get any easier. At no point. You will never be ready to do that. Just so you know. I just wanted to say that. I think I get why, she wants to drown in empathy and support him through this, but there's no empathy to be had here. He's made you believe that because he's talking about childhood trauma and he's looking like he feels very guilty, but that's because he did that. There's nothing else to blame. He just did that out of what he wanted to do. Not only that, that's cheating on you. He was fully willing to cheat on you. If they didn't have stopped him, he would have just had sex with someone else. I get it's not as important as the, borderline rape. I'm willing to call it that, yeah. But still, he did just try and cheat on you. I think I may be in shock. Saying that feels somehow self-centered, because obviously the worst injury is carried by the woman he harmed, who has to process the violation and trauma of that night. We've actually been in touch every so often since the incident to check in on each other, which is kind of beautiful. I feel very honored that she trusts me with her pain and relieved that in her mind I'm not tainted by his actions. We belong to the same small community, so I'd like to hope that my presence won't bring her pain. I don't know what my purpose is with this post except just to get this off my chest, and perhaps to get some supportive words and light or coping strategies to get through this, because right now I'm honestly hanging on by a thread. I miss the man I thought I had beside me, the life I thought we were building. I miss being able to sleep at night. I miss feeling at home in my home and not haunted and disgusted by what happened there. I feel really bad for her, actually, because you're just an innocent bystander, yet very, very much affected by the situation. And of course the victim. I feel terrible for her. But I'm keeping to my guns. It's very clever that she talked about it soon. Right. Update, I'd like to clarify that the woman herself doesn't describe what happened as rape. She was unable to give consent due to being very drunk, and he stopped as soon as he realized she wasn't into it. But he still inserted himself uninvited into the situation, and the impact was that she felt violated and traumatized. Not minimizing what happened though, because intent aside, the impact was traumatizing someone. She cannot classify it as rape. She has every right to do that, especially her. But I think with all intents and purposes, if we just look at the definition, he tried to, without consent, have sex. It's at least attempted rape. I don't know how far they went, right? But if someone cannot consent and you try to do sexual acts, that's what that is. Girl, grab your kids and go, because what the F. Also, this is too many excuses for something that is a mistake. He knows he has a problem. Thankfully, I don't have to grab them and go. He doesn't live with me, and they were at their dad's house when it happened. He will never see them again. I just have to get out of freeze mode enough to actually tell him. Someone below that had a very good point, to tell the kids that he is not a safe person. because clearly he's not. And I totally sympathize with her feeling in freeze mode, right? Because I'm always very focused on, like, just do what needs to be done and be direct about it. Maybe that's the Dutchman in me, right? Just say it how it is. But it's good to take a moment and understand that it's indeed very hard to just break up. Even though it's only 7 months, which I say it's only, that can still be very significant, right? And very, very painful to break up. It's just not easy, but you have to understand that you cannot stay with this man, especially your kids. He needs to do a lot of work on himself, or maybe go to jail, I don't know. But he needs to do a lot of stuff before he can be in a relationship again. And I want to make it clear that this guy is 35. By the way, and the woman in this case is 37. Not the victim, but the one who wrote it. So we're not talking about early 20s where you're a little more immature, which doesn't make anything right, but it would be more understandable in a way. But as a 35-year-old man, right, that's 15 years from where I am at right now, and I can understand perfectly fine that that's not okay to do, right? So he clearly lacks some sort of emotional maturity, because it's not like I'm so mature and I'm so great, because I'm just not. I'm just straight up not. So if I know it, and if I can drink responsibly with the point that I don't do this sort of stuff, then clearly you got some work to do. But if you recognize, right, yourself in this situation like this, maybe not specifically, but there are just some similarities, or you see someone with it's childhood trauma, and I promise I'm going to therapy. That's manipulation, right? Recognize that. Because it's all stuff that's used against you. It's not because someone is actually trying to get better. If they say it like this, right? If they're trying to deflect accountability. If they take full accountability and then they go to like something like therapy or quitting a bad habit, or trying to at least, right? Or go to rehab. That's a good thing. Again, that's a good thing. But you can't use that as a deflection, or like a way to make someone forgive you. It's like I would punch you, bam, on your nose broken, and I say, look, I'm sorry, it's just I always had anger issues, and I promise I'm going to therapy, okay? So now you have to forgive me, right? Instead of me just coming up to you and saying, look, what I did was wrong, and I truly do apologize, but I understand if you're not ready to forgive me yet. Just know that I deeply regret what I did. And then, like, a few days later, you find out I went to therapy for anger management issues. You see the difference? I'm trying to highlight the difference in using it as a, like, I promise you will forgive me for this, right, if I do this, because I'm working on all these things, versus me actually apologizing to you, and you find out I'm working on myself later, kind of confirming that I actually do regret my actions. I hope I made all my points clear. If I didn't, I apologize. I hope everyone in this situation comes out better, you know. I wish the victim a lot of... I'm forgetting the words, I'm blanking on the word. I wish her a lot of luck. I wish her good fortune and strength through this trying time. Same with the person who wrote this. I wish her a lot of strength through this trying time. And I hope that she will come out better, you know, by having learned a lot and having a stronger character because of it. I hope the man in this situation takes actual accountability and actually starts working on himself really seriously. Because there's no making this right. You traumatize someone and you're gonna have to live with that. But you can still make sure that you are not that same person anymore. And you are a better version of yourself. Where if people have you in their lives get better. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment something on the video. Jesus Christ is Lord, and let's get out of here.